the only wrestling podcast that doesn't have a story to finish yet. We've got a lot of people who are trying to finish stories in WWE. We've got stories progressing in AEW. And we've also got some evil EVPs. All that plus a whole lot more from this week in pro wrestling. Monday Night Raw is becoming the show when it comes to people wanting to finish stories. You got Cody Rhodes finishing the story. Well, I should say trying to finish the story. You've got Drew McIntyre trying to finish his story. You've got CM Punk trying to finish his story. Everybody's vying to win the Royal Rumble. Only one man can win it. Who's your pick to win the 2024 Royal Rumble? Because there are a lot of different options. This week, we've got Drew McIntyre kicking off the show and Cody Rhodes. These two go back to back here on the promos, back and forth. A lot of valid stuff here from Drew. Tells Cody he's going to be the one to finish his story. He also tells him that Cody will one day win the title. He will finish his story, but not until Drew finishes his. Cody says, look, we used to be a tag team together. They're rehashing the past now. That's the one thing I really like about WWE the last maybe year or so. I guess the Triple H era is that Triple H isn't afraid to go back in the vault and pull out, that obscure bit of history or, case in point, Miz and R-Truth, reuniting the Awesome Truth for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, whatever. He's not afraid to go back in that vault and pull out, some hidden gems or things that were lost, much like Drew and Cody being tag team champs. Cody leaves it with, remember the last time we faced each other, who beat who? I like it. Next week on Raw, we're gonna double down. Now we're gonna get Cody and Punk face to face, promoing off. It's gonna be great start to Monday Night Raw, no doubt in my mind. But I like how the last 3 weeks on the build to the Royal Rumble, we've done Drew and Punk. Now we've done Drew and Cody. Now we're doing Punk and Cody. And I think it makes sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if Drew interrupts that next week and it becomes the three of them, arguing amongst themselves on who's finishing what story at the Royal Rumble. I like it. When was the last time you had this many interwoven stories in the men's Rumble and equally the women's Rumble? Good stuff. Monday Night Raw was okay. Wasn't the best Raw of this month, but it progressed pretty much the Royal Rumble. And we're almost now going to be a week out from the Royal Rumble. So I'm excited to see how this breaks down. The rest of Monday Night Raw, pretty good. We're in Arkansas. They got some bad snow. Michael Cole even says that the crowd is loud even though they're a little light this week. There's some weather, tough traveling. Shout out to wrestlers across the world, the globe, the U.S. during this time, during the winter season, traveling show to show, whether you're in the big leagues, WWE, AEW, whether you're in, the minor leagues of the indies, whatever it may be. Shout out to you guys and gals for powering through, driving in this weather to entertain us, the fans. So shout out to them. DIY and Dom and JD McDonough kick off Raw with a fantastic tag team match. Honestly, go back and check it out. It was a great match. And it was kind of a great, prize for the fans who braved the elements and ended up coming out to Monday Night Raw. Solid. Candice and Indy win a tag team match against Chelsea and Piper. More than likely, like I said last week, establishing and reestablishing the challengers for Kaden and Katana's WWE Women's Tag titles. I like it. I'm sure the Kabuki Warriors on SmackDown will get in the mix at some point. Xavier Woods is pissed about Kofi getting taken out by Kaiser, so he challenges Kaiser to a match. The match, pretty solid to start, ends up in a disqualification. It ends up with Kaiser and Woods beating the living hell out of each other on the outside of the ring. So I like this. This New Day Imperium beef has been really good the last couple weeks. Natty and Tegan tag. They lose to Zoe and Shayna, like I said just 2 seconds ago, reestablishing the women's tag team division. I like it. Tozawa ends up beating the beefy Ivar, thanks to a little Maxine distraction, thanks to a little roll-up action. But Tozawa gets a big win. The power of Tozawa running strong thanks to the Alpha Academy and Maxine. And the best part, I have to say, the comedy of Monday Night Raw, R-Truth. R-Truth is selling the Judgment Day shirts now that say "And R-Truth" on them. Then get yours with my WWE affiliate link down below. He's selling them, and he gives the cut of money to Priest. And Priest is shocked with this money. He's like, "What? Where'd you get this, Truth? You know, I'm selling the shirts in the parking lot. Everybody's getting their cut. Tom and Nick, Finn, Rhea, everybody gets a cut of the money except JD, because JD's not in the Judgment Day." It ends up basically Finn and Tom and Nick Mysterio, Dominic, they get their cut in the match with the Awesome Truth, Miz. Awesome Truth and Miz and R-Truth lose to the Judgment Day, Priest and Finn Balor. Hysterical stuff here from R-Truth, guys. That might be like the best return we could have got at the Survivor Series. Like, look, we got Randy back, we got Punk back. You know, we got the Never Say Never and the feel good of the injury coming back. You know, R-Truth also had an injury. But man, R-Truth being back is so funny. What he's doing with the Judgment Day, I said it, very similar, but different to what Sammy did with the Bloodline, giving that comedy and lightening things up, and it's working so well. He's cracking these guys and Rhea every week with the stuff he says, like Tom and Nick, I can't find him on Facebook. Priest, like, he got him. He was like, so I love R-Truth. Love this whole stuff with the Judgment Day. I can't say enough about it. Becky and Rhea, man, this is your WrestleMania match more than likely on the Raw women's side, unless something drastic changes. You know, Nia Jax, Becky winning the Rumble is a strong possibility, or at least winning maybe at the Elimination Chamber, the last chance, you know, for the women's side, because you don't know. My pick is Bayley. I said this in the award show. I said Bayley winning the Rumble and challenging Io at Mania. So that's your SmackDown match. And I think maybe we could I think the match was going to be Bianca and Charlotte up until Charlotte, unfortunately got hurt. Speedy recovery to her. Now I think you could see maybe Jade fill in that spot if she's ready. Obviously, no rush to Jade. When she's ready, and the crowd will be ready for her. Mommy and the Man. That's your headline. That's your headline for the match. They set that forth with their promo tonight. Basically, foreshadowing, maybe even spoiling, like, look, this is more than likely the direction it's going to be, your Mania co-main event or main event of night one or night two, whatever. And I'm here for it. I think Becky and Rhea is the match you want to see. They've kept them separate for a long time. They've faced in the past, but with the title on the line, the man's confident. He's running low. She just lost. Becky lost a big match to Nia. So she's doubting herself. And Rhea is confident that it will be her. So I like this direction. I think it's going to work really well. Seth and Jinder, good match here. Jinder gets that, unnecessary title match that, the other wrestling company's owner was complaining about on Twitter last week. We got into it. We're not gonna dive into it again. But yeah, good match from Jinder. Indus got involved a few times. Seth's able to retain. Now there's some reports that Seth might be injured. I don't know if they're gonna work it out or if it's in story and they're gonna start alluding to, like, look, Seth's breaking down, quote unquote, the back. The whole thing with Nakamura, and now having these matches almost every week or every other week with Seth. So very well could see, that be a storyline, but we'll find out, I guess, Monday on Raw to see, what's going to happen with Seth. I haven't seen any news, but if there is anything, keep it tuned to the socials. But good match. Seth retains. We get the confrontation between Drew and Priest. Priest was going to cash in again. He doesn't get a chance to cash in. Drew stops him. They fight. Seth gets the win during that. Hear me out, though. Obviously, there's a whole plan in place, but, shouldn't Drew have just let Priest cash in? Because they had a match anyway set up earlier on Raw for them for next week on Raw. Why wouldn't Drew just do that? And if Drew beats Priest next week, then he becomes a number one contender, or if it becomes a championship match. Hear me out. That would have been too much, but too logical. But I like the direction we're heading. Obviously, Seth and Punk probably is going to happen at Mania. Is it going to be for the title? I don't know. We still are almost 2 months away from it. 3 months technically, but you have February with the Chamber and you don't have anything in March. So you basically have the Rumble, Chamber, then the month of March for Mania. So anything can change from here until then. But Raw, good show. Really like that the tag divisions for the women and the men are really starting to get fleshed out. And I like the tension that we're creating for the Royal Rumble. Seth has his eyes on Jinder. Meanwhile, Priest is creeping up. And then you have potentially who's going to win the Rumble, Cody, Punk, or Drew. I like it. NXT this week was another solid show for NXT. It's headlined by a 20-women battle royal, which the final 4 will then turn into a fatal 4-way to determine Lyra Valkyria's next challenger at Vengeance Day. But we kick off with a Dusty Cup match, which is seeing Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams take on Blade and Inofi. These 4 guys started NXT off the wall. Fantastic tag match. All 4 guys, especially Blade and Inofi. Those dudes, sky's the limit. I talked about it maybe months ago, that those 2, you got to keep an eye on them. They're really solid in the ring. They've got good personalities, and they can talk. All 4 guys tore the house down. Mello and Trick won. They're moving on in the Dusty Cup. Later on in NXT, Dragunov confronts Trick and lets him know that he's going to get his title match at Vengeance Day, which coincides with the Dusty Cup finals. You see where this is headed, right, folks? Trick and Mello will make it to the finals at Vengeance Day. Trick will have to take on Dragunov. Trick and Mello probably will lose to Braun and Corbin, thus setting the tension there. Mello intervenes in that championship match, and there's your Stand and Deliver weekend match. Maybe something else takes place. Another Dusty Cup match, the LWO defeat Chase U. Another solid match for the Dusty Cup. They're going to move on. They're going to take on Axiom and Nathan Frazier. So the LWO, Axiom, Nathan Frazier, I'm going to tell you right now, those guys are going to be flying. Nathan Frazier is going to be doing his little flash thing off the ropes, flying, or speed. Man is just speed. And then Axiom, Joaquin Wilde, Cruz del Toro, they're going to be flying all across the ring, off the ropes, off the barricades, whatever. I'm telling you right now, that match, keep your eye on it. It might be like a contender for TV match of the year in 2024 because they're going to be flying all over the place. Paxley and Lyra defeat Lola and Elektra in a tag match. Lyra tweeted earlier Tuesday that her gear was missing, and if you see it on, for sale, to notify her. Turns out Tatum Paxley stole her gear, and they honestly look like twins. Like, legitimately. They are, this whole Tatum Paxley, like, making sure that Lyra is safe and nobody comes after her for the title is working. Little stalker, obsessed gimmick. I don't know why. It just works, I guess. We're seeing it in AEW with Tony and Mariah May. We've seen it in the past, of course, with Trish and Mickey. I don't know. It's fun. It's not as, like, overtly sexual. It's not like a sexual obsession stalker thing. It's more of like a looking out for your good friend kind of stalker. So it works. It's not too off the cuff. Ridge Holland has no friends. He beats Joe Coffey in a match, and Gallus destroy him. Obviously, they're playing up this story that Ridge hurts people and no one likes him. I guess we'll see how it plays out. Hey, this is NXT. This is developmental. We'll see if it develops. Josh Briggs gets the JBL seal of approval, but not really the seal of approval, more so the seal of, look, I know what you're capable of. You got to find yourself, man. The reason I wanted you in that Iron Survivor match was because, you're one of the best big men, but you need to find who Josh Briggs is. I like this. Josh Briggs is very talented at this age and this point in his career. So they can tap into this and kind of flesh, who and what Josh Briggs is going to be. Good big man to have down the pipeline. Speaking of big men, Obafemi, new North American champ, comes out. He's going to cut a promo here telling everybody that the open challengers are finished and done with. I like this, guys. And to be honest, Obafemi with the white turtleneck and the dress pants and the title, dude, that title looks like it was like custom made for him. He looks great. He's got the look. I'm sure they'll work on the promos. Solid promo to start, his championship run. And he has the talent, obviously. Dragon Lee gets denied his rematch for Vengeance Day. So we'll see where that story plays out. We might get a David Goliath situation. Maybe Dragon Lee recaptures the North American Championship. Time will tell on that. Women's Battle Royal. Great Women's Battle Royal. NXT ladies They're doing it right. The developmental's working. I have to say, a lot of the women who were previous gymnasts seem to be getting this a lot quicker, and they're taking off. Like a Tiffany and Izzy Dame, a Kalani Jordan. Those gals, they're getting it. They're picking it up quick. Fallon Henley's another one who's picking it up quick. Kiana James, Roxanne, we know she has wrestling experience. The Prodigy. A lot of great women coming up the pipeline from NXT for the years to come for WWE. Great. Shawn Michaels has an eye for talent. I have to say, credit to him and the rest of the scouts and the trainers down there. It's working, man. The final four were Kiana James, Roxanne Perez, Fallon Henley, and Kalani Jordan. And these four women, when they hit the main roster, they're going to take the main roster by storm. They had a great last fatal four-way, all of them supremely talented. Roxanne gets the win. She's going to be the number one contender for Lyra at Vengeance Day. I like this decision. We haven't seen Roxanne really compete for the championship, in quite some time. And I think, it's time for maybe a little bit more of a heelish Roxanne to come out. Overall, NXT, good show. Can't complain. And gentlemen, it is time for Friday Night SmackDown. This week's Friday Night SmackDown is headlined by the big contract signing for Roman Reigns' Undisputed Championship at the Royal Rumble next Saturday, January 27th. We start off the show with AJ, LA Knight, Randy in the ring with Nick Aldis. Classic contract signing setup. Paul Heyman comes out. Says Roman's not signing the contract. Nick Aldis says, no problem, Paul. I'll go ahead and make a triple threat match at the Rumble for the vacant Undisputed Championship. The look on Paul Heyman's face was priceless, I have to say. Paul Heyman, one of the best in the business. I'll read his praise every episode of Mouthing Off with Mike if that's what it took. He's one of the best in the game ever, all time, hands down. What he's been able to accomplish with Brock Lesnar, CM Punk, with ECW, just his creative mind in wrestling overall. And now, of course, with the Wise Man 2, the Tribal Chief, it's money and it works. Basically, all hell breaks loose. You got LA Knight and AJ Styles fighting up the way off, all the way up to the ramp. Randy Orton's hanging back, watching it all unfold. If he had popcorn, I'm sure he'd probably be eating his popcorn. Gets Paul Heyman up real tight by the tie. Tells him Roman's going to experience the 3 deadliest letters in professional wrestling and sports entertainment, RKO. Good start to SmackDown. You already know what you're in for right off the bat with Friday Night SmackDown. Love Nick Aldis. Keep saying it every week on the show since he's been unveiled as the, SmackDown GM. One of the best on-screen authority figures, next to Adam Pearce. But difference with Aldis and Pearce when it comes to the bloodline was Pearce was attacked by Roman. We know what happened there. Maybe forgotten by some, but I definitely remember it. So Pearce kind of just let Roman and Paul do what they wanted on SmackDown. Aldis, not the case here. So I'm really a big fan of it. You got the LWO Civil War. We got Carlito, Joaquin, and Cruz del Toro taking on Humberto, Angel, and Santos Escobar. We're now referring to Legado World Order as Legado del Fantasma. So we're going back to our roots here. Great stuff here. Santos gets the quick roll-up win over Carlito and the LWO. So Legado reigns supreme here in this matchup. I have a feeling that this feud, this rivalry, this, LWO Civil War is not over yet. And it could basically come to head maybe at the Royal Rumble in a 6-man tag match, or being in the Rumble itself, because there's a lot of different interconnectivity and interwoven stories we've got going to the Royal Rumble for both the men's and the women's matches. So either way there, I don't think this rivalry is over whatsoever. Pretty deadly. Lost last week, Tyler Bate and Butch. This week they're saying they're ready. Yeah, we're getting the rematch. We're running it back. They're ready for Tyler Bate and Butch. Everybody kept emphasizing Butch. And it was reported last week, on social media that there are some rumblings that Pete Dunne may be returning and Butch may be getting thrown to the back, which, look, love the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne. When they changed his name, I was a little, I was like, oh, that's just classic Vinnie Mac. Now with Triple H at the helm, I think he's kind of like I said this a few weeks ago. I feel like I've been firing on all cylinders, just talking to the abyss. But nevertheless, Triple H is kind of retconning and also taking a second look at some stars that may not have been afforded opportunities initially when they had been called up. We're seeing it with Tyler Bate. We're seeing it now with Butch getting Pete Dunne back. We're seeing it with the AOP and Paul Ellering, Karrion Kross. Something to take a note at for sure. Triple H, trying to do like a redo, or at least kind of going back and saying, look, this wasn't my vision, and now I can put my vision out there. So it's working. I'm here for it. Pete Dunne's back. Tyler Bate and him get a big win over Pretty Deadly. We got KO hosting the KO show. Logan Paul is his honored guest. And I have to say, as much as I love Kevin Owens, I don't know if he's going to beat Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble. But this KO show segment did wonders for selling me on their match at the Royal Rumble. Like, now I have, there's believability within me, like KO could do it. KO could finally, shut up Logan, and Logan kind of takes a back seat. Maybe he has, a match at Mania against somebody else. Loved that they called back to Logan's first time in WWE at WrestleMania in 2021, 37, when Sami Zayn was doing this whole thing about the conspiracy towards him in WWE, and he had a documentary, and it ended up being a match with him and KO, and Logan Paul, was there on hand, and he was involved in like the unveiling of the documentary at the time. And I love that they showed that to us here for the KO show segment, because Logan referenced it and said that's the reason Logan became a WWE superstar and wanted to cross over. So love it. Kevin gets into the mix, says, I'd love to talk about some stuff, but I can't. There's so many things that I could talk about you, Logan, but I can't talk about them. And this sold it for me. So KO Logan sold for me for Royal Rumble. They're probably going to go out there and do insane things. The Unholy Union have a tag title shot against Caden Carter and Katana Chance, the tag champions. On hand, Damage Control, Kabuki Warriors specifically, and Bayley's rocking Mommy is on top t-shirt. So she's throwing some lines that maybe if she wins the Rumble, she's going to go towards Rhea. That's what she tells Damage Control. A lot of people on social media. Someone actually replied to me tonight during SmackDown when I tweeted about Bayley just wearing Rhea's shirt. Said, hey, look, Bayley's probably going to challenge Io. Yeah, 100%. More than likely, that's what I feel as well. Bayley will challenge Io for the title at WrestleMania. How we get there is going to be interesting. Does Bayley outright win the Rumble? Kind of swerve everybody that she's going to challenge Rhea, and then at the last moment, challenge Io, and then maybe, Trinity, Naomi makes a return. Maybe Mercedes, Sasha makes a return, and kind of solidifies that turn on Judgment Day or on Damage Control. Or Damage Control throw her out in the Royal Rumble. She doesn't win the Rumble, and she ends up getting that second chance at the Elimination Chamber. How we get there is what I'm intrigued about. I have a feeling Bayley and Io is probably locked in for WrestleMania. Unholy Union and Katana and Caden, 5-minute match. Took the time for me to tweet out that I was so happy to see the Unholy Union for the match to end. Caden and Katana retain their championships. Unholy Union, was very high on them. Like Matt Riddle high on them, and didn't really see much of them. And then they kind of got some video packages here and there, and I was like, oh, we're ramping up. Let's go. Like, Unholy Union, like, Albert and Isla are super talented. Like, their NXT tag title run was chef's kiss. Great stuff. Love to see them utilize more. Maybe this is the start of it. I'm not going to jump the gun on it, but I think definitely the Kabuki Warriors are down the pipeline. Could we see the Kabuki Warriors take on the Unholy Union, take on Caden and Katana at the Rumble? Maybe. But I don't know how many women are on the roster, because you have the Royal Rumble match you have to look towards too. So very interesting. Mellow Theory is going to happen next week after their almost horrific injury. Thankfully, they didn't get hurt. LA Knight takes on AJ Styles. It ends up in chaos. Thanks to Solo Sikoa thumbing everybody. Then Solo calls out Randy, which was the main event. Randy and Solo have a quick match. Randy basically gets the win, no problem. RKO. Solo tries to get some thumbs out to some people. Jimmy no-yeets his way around. And then Roman comes out to end it, and Superman punches Randy. with then Randy hitting an RKO on Roman to end the show after Roman does in fact sign the contract, but not before disrespecting Nick Aldis and not handing him back the signed contract, but dropping it at his feet from the ring. SmackDown, good SmackDown. Not going to say it was the best this month. Same thing with Raw. I will explain this utterly to no end. When I was watching wrestling during this time as a kid, sometimes this month dragged, and sometimes I wouldn't even watch this month. Even up into my pre-podcast time, like 2016, 17, 18, like January's, I wasn't really watching just because it's a long stretch between pay-per-views. This year's way different with Triple H. He's connecting stories. He's making you like want to watch it because you're like, okay, what's the next element going into, the Rumble? So it's working. SmackDown advancing the stories. I'm slightly more excited for the Rumble. Most excited I've been for a Rumble in a few years. So it's working. It's time for AEW Dynamite. This week's AEW Dynamite, solid show. It's headlined by Hook and Samoa Joe for the World Championship, and it was commercial free. We kick off the show, though, with Christian taking on Dustin Rhodes for the TNT Championship. Look, the combined age for both of these men was, I believe, 104 years old. That's insane. These guys don't know how to age. They went out there, they had a banger, a slapper, a burner, whatever you want to call it. They had a great match to kick off Dynamite. Dustin Rhodes kicked out of a spear, a kill switch, Nick Wayne interference, Luchasaurus, kill switch interference, and he put on a hell of a match. Dustin Rhodes can still go. I'm fine with Dustin Rhodes wrestling. No problems. Christian Cage, we know he can go. He's been doing it. Best run of his career, I say. I say let Dustin Rhodes wrestle a little bit more. Good match. I said last week, like, Tony and his little hypocrisy, he's complaining about Jinder getting that match and all this stuff, and then we booked Preston and Anna Jay and Dustin for title matches. Yeah, but Dustin did have a good record going into 2024, and he's, he was undefeated for the first, couple weeks there. So yeah, I guess it made sense, but still keep that on the back burner. We get a Swerve promo. I don't know what's going on, man. Swerve looks exhausted, like just absolutely exhausted. He looks like Robert Pattinson in Batman. My man's got the something in my way vibes. Like he just looks ready to take out half of Gotham City. Batman villain, dude is on another level. Super imposing, man. But yeah, he looks super exhausted. People were tweeting about it, and he even tweeted, he was like, I haven't slept since August. Yeah, man. Swerve, Hangman, Joe looks to be the direction for Revolution. I'm here for it. We got a Jericho promo that ended up turning into Matt Sydal challenging him to a match on Rampage for Friday. This was very Raw 2010. Even Jericho making a nod to Evan Bourne. He's like, oh, you're born to do this, Sydal. I chuckled. Ain't nothing wrong with it. I'm not going to get too in the mud with that one. Orange Cassidy and Trent take on Commander and Penta in a really good match. They get the win against the two luchadors. Roddy Strong, after, confronting OC for an international championship match. OC's ready to give it to him right now. He's like, yeah, let's do it. Goes to put the elbow pad back on. Roddy's like, oh, timeout. No. I'm thinking Revolution. People are going to complain no matter what, and I complain sometimes that AEW's pay-per-views kind of were thrown together within like the last 2 weeks, and there was a few that were like that. Double or Nothing, most notably in my head from 2023. People are complaining that they're already building matches for Revolution now. I would much rather know what the brunt of the matches for Revolution are going to be towards the beginning of February than know what the matches are going to be 2 weeks prior to the pay-per-view. This is a weird time in wrestling, right? January is just about done. Then you have February. It's usually a short month. March 3rd is Revolution. So they need to start building the end of January, AEW, to really kind of put those stories that, may have been kind of there but haven't been brought to the focus. They have to start building now. So if you're going to complain about them building the pay-per-view now as opposed to like the 2 weeks before the show, then you're going to complain about something all the time. But I'm fine with this. This hypes it up. Now you have 5-6 weeks to build this story between Roddy and Orange Cassidy, and they can absolutely do that. Fine with this. Beautiful tribute to Jay Briscoe by Mark Briscoe. Tragically, we lost Jay Briscoe. And, the wrestling world never really... It's one of those things. It's hard to talk about. It's sad. It's a tragedy. But I will say AEW finds a way to really honor wrestlers. Brody Lee, Jay Briscoe. And they've done such a great job of it. Tonight, we got a great, great moment. Really, from a moment of tragedy to a moment of, beauty. Jay Briscoe's, oldest daughter and Mark's niece, she was severely injured in the car accident that took Jay's life. And they, the doctor told her that she wasn't able to walk. She wasn't going to be able to walk and she was going to have trouble. And, here she comes walking out on Dynamite. And it was beautiful. I'm getting choked up talking about it right now. Beautiful stuff. So that was a great moment and for AEW overall. Ladies and gentlemen, I called on the show last week. If you don't watch the show, please. Help support your boy. Second, the Young Bucks came out last week. End of Sting and Darby on Dynamite. They got mustaches. They got Kangles. They got suits. They are now the EVP Bucks. The EVP Young Bucks had a promo, had a sit-down interview with Renee Paquette. And they are going to rid AEW of cancerous sports entertainers. Now I wonder who that could be a reference to. I'm not gonna sit here and analyze every line of every sentence of every word of this promo, but it is something that I've been asking for months. I have been waiting patiently. I dropped this months ago. Like, I'm talking all the way back in like July, August of 2023, when the whole, CM Punk might be coming back. What's going to happen with the Young Bucks and the Elite. I said, turn the Young Bucks heel, lean into the EVP stuff, and have them battle it out with FTR, Punk, Kenny. Get this whole thing, get everything squashed. They couldn't do it. They're now going in that direction with the Bucks, and I'm here for it. I cannot wait to see what they're going to do. Look, there are fans that love the Young Bucks. There are fans of wrestling that despise the Young Bucks. No matter what, ladies and gentlemen, you're talking about them. They're one of the greatest tag teams to ever do it across the sport. Generation Me, the Young Bucks, the New Japan iteration, the Ring of Honor version. You had AEW version. Now we're finally getting the good old Young Bucks. They don't care. They don't give a damn. They're gonna troll. They're gonna make those references. They're gonna be on the border of those NDAs. I'm here for it, man. The Young Bucks as bad guy figures on AEW TV. Like, look, we've talked about like how will Tony Khan ever become an on-screen character similar to Vince? I don't think Tony would do it. But guys like the Young Bucks can do it, no problem. They're already established on the air. We know that they're EVPs with AEW. Like, we've known that since day one. So why not? Why not lean into it? Why not lean into the EVPs abusing their power and putting the screws to wrestlers they don't like? First, and why wouldn't the EVPs of the company be the first ones to want to challenge Sting and Darby? Especially Sting, quote unquote, the sports entertainer. And they want to rid the company of them. And they also want to retire them. Like, they're EVPs. Of course, they're going to be the first to jump in the line for this. It works for their character. I'm here for it. I could go on and on. I'm not. Bullet Club Gold versus the Mogul Embassy for the Ring of Honor 6-man championship. You know where this is going, folks. And new Bang Bang Gang, Bullet Club Gold, Ring of Honor 6-man champs. The Acclaimed, they have kind of a face-to-face. Now, the Acclaimed want to build a super faction with Bullet Club Gold to take on the Undisputed Kingdom because of what they did to both factions, attack them, put bowling through glass, real glass, Crimea River, I guess. I would not be opposed to a super faction. You have history here. Colton and Austin, their fathers in the Acclaimed. They've faced off in the past, both teams. Colton and Austin won the tag title. So I'm not mad about a super faction. I'm here for it. Seems like they're going to unify the 6-man championship and the trios titles for AEW. I kind of want that to happen with titles across the board for Ring of Honor. There's a few that I could see, maybe them unifying and then having people show up on Ring of Honor. It might help Ring of Honor get some more viewers. Deonna Purrazzo defeats Anna Jay. Solid match here. Deonna Purrazzo, they're building her up, for Toni Storm. Toni Storm's on commentary. She thinks Riccaboni is Tony Schiavone. I thought it was hysterical. Tony Schiavone was out sick. And Ian Riccaboni filled in. I love Riccaboni. He's a PA guy. Shout out to him. Toni Storm, hysterical on commentary. She thought the Virtuosa was a disease and that she had it once. She also then got on Luther's shoulders, threw her shoe at Deonna Purrazzo, then Deonna threw it back, and then Toni Storm uttered the words, "I ought to come in that ring and punch you in your box." Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Toni Storm is the greatest thing ever. The greatest wrestling gimmick ever. Top Flight, Private Party, 2 tag teams, not unfamiliar to big-time injuries. Top Flight had a big injury. Private Party had a big injury. We didn't see both of those teams. Now we're getting both of those teams against each other on Dynamite. Fantastic match. I love Private Party. They've been one of my favorite AEW tag teams since, honestly, day one. They've been with the company since day one. They had a great showing all those years ago against the Young Bucks. Really sold it for me. So happy they're back. They beat Top Flight. Good stuff here. Your main event, commercial free. Samoa Joe, the AEW World Champ, taking on Hook, the Handsome Devil. Good match. Didn't expect Hook to win, but a great showing from Hook. This was a classic David and Goliath match. I tweeted it. Look, Hook came out the gate hot. Explosive start, beating up on Joe. Joe takes the power advantage, throws him around like a rag doll for a little bit, hits him with the Uranagi through the table, vicious spot, power bombs him on the apron, hits him with a muscle buster. Hook kicks out at 1. Crowd goes crazy. Hook gets his comeback, big comeback here. He gets him. He hits him with the suplex. Hook hits Joe with the suplex. Crazy. Crowd goes crazy. Hook tries to lock in Red Rum, can't do it. Joe gets him, puts him to sleep. Great showing. 15 minutes, no commercials, great match, great showing for Hook. I think Hook, down the line, no doubt, AEW World Champion. No doubt. So young. So much to do still. Get him right in the TNT title picture. Get him in the international title picture. Get him in the Ring of Honor title picture. TV title, pure, whatever. Get him in those title pictures ASAP. I think the time is right to put an AEW or Ring of Honor championship on Hook. After the match, you heard me say it. Swerve, Hangman come out. Big face off. Joe knows that it's more than likely one or both of these guys for him at Revolution. So things are heating up on AEW. Dynamite kept the streak alive. The streak's still alive here for wrestling. Raw was okay. NXT was good. Dynamite was pretty good. AEW likes to bill Rampage on Friday nights as the fastest hour of pro wrestling. And honestly, it flew by tonight. An hour of wrestling, some good stuff, some interesting stuff, and some awkward stuff. Downright maybe a little kinky. I'm not sure if I can say that. But nevertheless, we got Jericho taking on Matt Sydal to open Rampage. Crowd loves Jericho. There's some stuff with Jericho. I'm not getting into it. I don't speculate. I'm not going to besmirch anybody's name. But Jericho Sydal, fun little match here. Jericho gets the win after Takeshita attacks Jericho. So I guess we're going back to Jericho and Takeshita. We're not finished with that. Jericho beat Takeshita in a DDT match over a few months ago, man. I mean, maybe over like 3 or 4. Guess we're going to try to get that win back for Takeshita right now. Yeah, I just need Takeshita away from the Don Callis family. Look, no disrespect to anybody involved in that Callis family, but it's just not working, man. I'm not a fan of it. If others are, hey, I'm so be it. Let it rock, right? But just Takesha's momentum just stunted, man. I just got to get him out of that group. I wish I could see him back to his dominant, role. I mean, he's going to beat Jericho, so I guess that's a takeaway from it. Look, great women's match tonight on Rampage. Kris Statlander taking on Queen Aminata. Queen Aminata, I'm not sure if she's all elite yet, but I hope she is very soon. Kris gets the win here. Seriously, great women's match. Go check it out if you didn't watch Rampage. If there's a match that you're not, gonna watch on Rampage, yeah, you could skip Jericho and Sydal, but don't skip Kris and Queen Aminata, and then don't skip Jeff Hardy and Darby Allin. Those two were in a contest to out Jeff Hardy each other. Great stuff here. Hardy going through a table. The rules relaxed, so relaxed match rules, I guess, was a first. Like, it was a normal match, but ref just kind of let them do whatever they wanted. There was no count for a minute, and there was a count. There was a table spot. They were brawling all over the outside of the ring, using chairs. Good stuff here. Jeff Hardy. No Jeff Hardy juke when he makes his entrance. He also slaps Darby very disrespectfully and doesn't show him a sign of respect after the match. The Hardys the last couple weeks have been leaning into this, like, we're legends, we're better, respect our time. We're being relegated to Rampage. We should be on Dynamite. We should be on Collision. I like it, man. People on social media don't like the Hardys right now. Whatever. Social media is like 0.01% of wrestling fans. Crowd loves the Hardys. They're legends in the game. I got Hardy memorabilia on my wall, so maybe I'm a little biased, but I like bad guy Jeff and Matt. I like evil Hardys. It works for me. Rampage, solid show. As for Collision, not going to cover Collision this week. Got a lot of stuff going on in the real world for mouthing off with Mike. So Collision looks like a good card. Garcia versus Buddy. Shane Taylor versus Mox, a match that Shane Taylor himself wanted. Great to see. Thunder Rosa will be in action, and Eddie Kingston and Santana will take on Bryan Danielson and Claudio in tag action. Probably much more announced. Maybe a Sky Blue match. But AEW this week, from what I saw, good. WWE, from what I saw, good. But we've got some news and some other swirling topics happening in wrestling this week that I got to cover here in the final mouth off. And it is time for the final mouth off with me, with Mike. This week, we got some breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Okada is leaving New Japan at the end of January. Yes, indeed, ladies and gentlemen. The Okada free agent speculation train is leaving the station and flying down the tracks, I have to tell you. I'm excited for this. Look, I love a good speculate where a free agent's going to do. I do it in sports all the time, I love this. I love when you got a big name in wrestling and you don't know where they're going to go, or you got, like, when WWE unfortunately releases people, you have that moment when that 90-day no-compete hits and you're like, ooh, where are they going to go? Where's Dolph Ziggler going to go? We know he's going to TNA. Where was Naomi going to go? We know she went to TNA, Trinity. Where is Mustafa Ali going to go? He's going to go on a world tour. He's going to wrestle everywhere, everywhere he can go. Where does Okada go? I would absolutely love to see that man in WWE, but that sentence and that thought, I can't even comprehend it. If you would have told me as a wrestling fan, go back in time, go flashback to the future here, me, middle school, early high school, watching New Japan, watching whatever I could watch at the time, finding Okada and seeing some of his matches and being like, whoa, like, this dude is so cool. Like, I'd love to see him in WWE. I can't even comprehend that thought. Like, even knowing that he's a free agent at the end of the month, could he go to WWE? Think about the matches, man. Gunther, Seth. You could get rematches with Finn, Shinsuke, Bronson Reed. You could get new matches, Randy. The dreamiest of all the dream matches, you could get John Cena and Okada at WrestleMania, maybe? What? I'm here for it. Speculate away. Safe bet. If I were to put some odds on it, I'd say minus 500. He's going to AEW, plus 1,000. He goes to WWE. Also, throw in the mix. Maybe he goes to TNA. Maybe he doesn't go to any. Maybe he does a Mustafa Ali and he goes on a world tour and you see that man wrestling Matt Cardona at a GCW show. I'm all for it. I love good speculation when it comes to free agents. We're speculating about Mercedes Moné. Now we know, as of the recent TNA tapings, Trinity, formerly known as Naomi, has officially bid adieu to TNA. Great run. I highly applaud Trinity, Naomi, for what she did. She went out there. She was released from WWE. She stood on business. As corny as it is, she left. Her and Sasha, Mercedes, they weren't getting the creative that they wanted. They walked out. They weren't getting the respect. Naomi went there. She went and got the respect and Impact. TNA now. She won the title. She was undefeated for 8 months. Sasha, Mercedes went over to New Japan. She held, what more could you want there, from a run from Trinity? If the rumors are true, Naomi might be a surprise in the Royal Rumble, and I'd love to see it. I'll talk more about that on my Royal Rumble episode dropping sometime next week, right before the Rumble. So be on the lookout to the socials for that. Love good speculation in pro wrestling. Some unfortunate news out of wrestling this week. Cora Jade has torn her ACL last weekend at a NXT house show. We just got Cora back. It hurts, man. I had this big feeling a Cora run in NXT for 2024 was about to be big time, and then early, mid-2025, she's hitting the main roster. At this point, it hurts, man, and I can only imagine how she feels. So thoughts and prayers and a speedy recovery to Cora. And another injury, unfortunately, on the WWE side, coming out of his title match this past Monday on Raw, Seth freaking Rollins is rumored and reported to have a torn meniscus and MCL. Now, he's had this injury in the past when he took on Triple H at WrestleMania. He was able to come back, get cleared in time, and have a good match with Triple H at Mania. The MCL aspect of it could throw things into wrench. A lot of social media doctors and other people have been, putting their reports into it. But an injury like that, they say, anywhere from a couple weeks to a couple months. So Seth Rollins and those Mania plans might be in question. I'm going to let everything play out. Seth is rumored and reported to be kicking off Raw this past Monday with a health update. So until we hear what the man himself has to say, I'm not going to get too concerned about Mania and potential matches. Like I said earlier, Butch is no more. We got Pete Dunne back. The Evil Hardys, I think, is something to keep an eye on. I think it might work. And lastly, and certainly not least, the Royal Rumble is next Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. I will have a video with my predictions for all the matches. You guys know how this goes. There's one women's Rumble, one men's Rumble, and maybe 2 or 3 other matches on the card. We already know that we're getting that fatal 4-way with Roman, Randy, AJ, and LA Knight. We know we're getting Kevin Owens and Logan Paul. Potentially, I wouldn't be shocked if we saw a women's match added. Maybe the tag titles defended in a triple threat with Kabuki Warriors, the Unholy Union, and the tag champs, Kaden and Katana, potentially. So Rumble, predictions, probably have some special guests, probably have some new faces to the show, fingers crossed. So stay tuned to my socials at MOWM_wrestling podcast. Also want to give a shout out to the winners of the contest this week that entered on my social media. Thanks for subscribing. The prizes will be out here in the mail this week, so appreciate all the love there. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was pro wrestling for the most part this week here. From your host here at Mouthing Off with Mike. You know how I do. Just go out there and enjoy the pro wrestling. 2024 is off to a great start. We're 3 weeks in. The streak continues again and again and again, hopefully throughout 2024. So enjoy wrestling. I'm signing off. Mouthing Off with Mike.